Okay, Russian as usual. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. It is the 25th of November. Can you all hear me? I can see the levels all going on. Louise, like to say a few words? Off your phone, Louise, off your phone.
I haven't got my laptop, so I'm not using I am using my phone, but I'm using it,
yes,
I'm using it legitimately for work.
We were a little bit, why are we always rushing though? We're always rushing.
There's always things happening, that's why.
There's always things happening. We're always rushing. So Louise has forgotten her laptop, hence the reason why she's on her phone. Everything sounds good. Excellent. Super, super, super. Okay, so I do apologise, it's Wednesday, and we used to do our question and answer on a Wednesday, and then we had to change it then to a Monday, but we had to change it back to a Wednesday today, but today only. Next week, we're all back to Monday. And the reason why, Tom, hello, Bill, hello, everybody, Amco, and everybody, all sounds good. Yes, the reason why we had to change it back to a Wednesday today is that Louise and I had Monday and Tuesday off. We decided to have a couple of days because, well, I suppose even since about the 2 weeks before, when we went into lockdown, we were really, really busy doing everything for the live stream, the 12-hour. That took an awful lot out of us, and then we had to really busy in the shop then for about 2 weeks afterwards. And we just basically said, look, we need to have some time off. We haven't had any time off, even through the 2-week fire break. We literally did not stop working. A lot of people will take time off and relax, but we didn't. Did we? No, we didn't. And it was really, really, really busy. So, yeah, so Louise, anything you really want to say at all?
Yeah, can you make the questions come on here, please?
Can I make the questions come on here?
Yeah.
Isn't there a chat button?
This is what happens when we have 2 days off. Everything goes
haywire, doesn't it? So yeah. Can you get chat on captions? We could watch in virtual reality.
Huh?
It says on here, watch in virtual reality.
What's that?
That's awesome if you could watch in virtual reality, isn't it?
Well, how's it different to what?
I don't know.
Yeah, don't mess my phone up now with that. Don't worry, I'll wing it.
Don't know, sorry, I really, really don't know. Yeah, so Louise has forgotten her laptop. We forgot Wednesday, we didn't realise it was the question and answer. Not similar, but it can be done. We won't bother. We won't. We'll just let Louise scroll up and down, up and down, up and down, won't we?
Yeah, I don't like missing questions though.
Just have to do your best, and I'm sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? Unless you want to have my screen. Put it onto Jewel's screen and have another
No, you like
browser.
to use that, that's fine. We're wasting time now, aren't we? Sorry, my fault. My fault. Okay.
So did you want to say anything, Louise? How was we had a lovely few days, didn't we?
We did.
We had a really nice relaxing time. We didn't really do much work.
Didn't do any, well, we did a little bit of work Saturday.
Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah.
But apart from that, it was a really nice chill time.
Watched our Christmas films yesterday.
We watched Christmas films.
Yeah.
We watched
Krampus.
The Krampus revisited.
It was Krampus Retribution. No, it wasn't Retribution. What was it? It was
no no.
The Krampus. It was something like that. Anyway.
It was rubbish.
It was absolute pants. It was rubbish.
It had like 2 out of 5 stars, and we thought, oh, it really can't be that bad, can it? But literally within the first couple of minutes, the acting was absolutely shocking.
William, there's literally a week and a half till Krampusnacht. 5th of December. That's when the Auntie Father Christmas comes round and picks up all the naughty kids. You better watch out, Berry.
I've been a good boy.
Oh, we watched Love Actually as well, Paul. That's one of the ones we watched first, isn't it?
Yes, but we watched the Krampus first. It's supposed to be scary, and then we watched Love Actually there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was good.
I love Elf.
An Elf. We haven't watched Elf, yes, but yeah, Elf is to come. So we've had a very busy few days doing absolutely nothing at all, which is absolutely wonderful, which is very not like us at all. Okay, it is the 25th of November. It is time for the question and answer. And as Bill said, it's November. Yes, we know, but it's only a week until Christmas. Advent starts, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yep.
Because a week today, you'll be opening your first advent calendar
yes.
window.
Fabulous.
All right, let's not waste any more time than this dilly-dally. Let's have our first question, please,
Dilly-dallying,
Louise.
shilly-shallying. Okay, Mike is asking, I have been commissioned to make keyrings from the brass of a 21-gun salute. Can I put our hero's ashes in the brass shell casing and solder a cap on it without it exploding?
Yes, you can. You can do it, because what you got to think about is that when you come and make something, and you say, or not make, say you want to melt something down and you've got a ball. It's a hollow ball. You heat it up, the air can't escape, it will explode, okay? Because the ball is already enclosed. If you want to put a cap on top of the, is it a shell? Is it like like the shells, rifle,
the
guns?
brass of a 21-gun salute. Heroes ashes in the brass shell casing,
yeah. Okay,
and solder a cap on it.
So yes, you can, because you're heating up the casing. The casing is hot. The air inside is hot. You can put a cap over the top and solder it. It won't explode because the heat inside is already expanded. You can solder it on top. Yes, Louise.
Charles has said only if it has been used. So obviously,
yeah.
That's an important,
Yeah. So obviously, don't put a flame on a live bullet.
Yeah, seems obvious,
what would
but yes.
happen? Explode.
Well, yes, it will. Yeah. So, absolutely. Thank you, Charles.
Yes, but then again, you wouldn't be able to get
the primer has been removed.
You wouldn't be able to get the ashes into a casing if it was.
Yeah, anyway. True.
So, okay, yes, you can. Shell, ashes, cap on the top, solder, not a problem. You would have a problem if then you wanted to heat the shell up for some reason or other once the cap has been put on. So, what you want to do is make sure. Perhaps you want to hang the shell from a chain or something like that. Do all the soldering operations beforehand, and the last thing that you do then is put the cap on and solder that, and you should have no problem at all. Absolutely, yes. We've had lots of requests for putting ashes in pieces of jewellery, haven't we? Lockets and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Okay, next question then, please, Louise.
Okay, Iona has got a gold ring to resize. And left the CZ in their place. After soldering, some of them came off. Are they grain set? I think this is the right term. And I tried to set them back, but they still fall. I was trying to push the grains over the CZs with a regular pusher, but the metal does not move. Should I be using the beading tools for this?
Yes, beading tools would be the best thing to do this. But then something came off. In theory, the CZs should not have come out unless you've actually made the circumference slightly smaller and tighter. But yeah, the stone should just go back in, no worries. But yes, a beading tool would be ideal, or you could get a little graver, or you could make a little graver. So you've got so you've got your stone here. It's a CZ, it's a cheap one because it's not very well proportioned. And you've got your little bit of a bead that would be by here, and likewise here as well. So those are the beads, okay? If you have a beading tool that would be that sort of shape, you can put the beading tool over the top and then put it on and spin it round and do that with it to round it over onto the stone. So that would be a good way of doing it. Or what you could do is get something like a graver that would be that sort of shape, okay? So this would be like a graver, like a scorper. It could be like a spit stick, so that the tip could be that shape, the tip could be that shape, or the tip could be sort of like that. Whichever it would be, you can always put it into this area by here, then lift the graver up, pivot it on that point, and the face here will push over the bead onto the stone as well. So you can use either. If you've got beading tools, do that. If you haven't got beading tools, you can get a graver or make a graver and just put it into here and just do that and lift it, and that should put the bead over. But be careful not to be too vicious, because the cubic zirconias, the CZs, would actually fracture as well. So you've got to take good care that you don't chip them. Just move the metal over enough just to make sure, just to hold them. Don't necessarily have to set them all the way onto the stone, but as long as they come over just to hold the stone in place, you should be fine. Next question then, please, Louise.
Okay, Suzanne has a question about the silver copper alloy shibushi.
Oh wow, yeah, okay, yeah.
I melted 15% copper into sterling scrap, but it came out silver, not pink. Did I reverse the proportions?
I have to say, I don't have any experience making it. Perhaps, did you quench it? Because sometimes if you quench it, you're going to quench out the copper out of it, out of the surface, and then you're going to be left with a nice shiny bit of fine silver on the top. So that may be the reason. 15% copper into sterling, so what's that going to be? 925 plus 15%. To be honest, Susan, I really won't be able to help you with that. Your best bet is just to double check the alloy mixture on that. But I would have thought that you'd have to have more copper to give it some sort of pinkish hue to it, or you may have quenched it. And as I said, quenching it then would get rid of the copper out of the surface, and then you're left with a fine silver layer. If you get rid of that fine silver layer, you're back down to the parent metal underneath. That may be the case, but I'm not too sure. So unfortunately, I can't really help you, but I would just double check the recipe for the alloy, and just to double check and make sure. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay, Julia is asking, what are the most useful hammers for forming and shaping?
The best hammer for forming and shaping. Okay, so it depends on how much forming and how much shaping. I have a hammer. Bear with me a second. I'm going to run into the other studio. Louise, entertain the troops. The camera's on you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andrew. I hate it when he does this. This isn't awkward at all.
Camera's on me now. So the hammers that I like, my sort of go-to hammer is a little goldsmithing hammer. This is a frets, cross pane on the end, as you can see, and a nice polished face. So that type of hammer is a good hammer for planishing, and if you want to put a nice texture, because that cross pane is quite sharp and that gives you a nice like a bark effect. But if you want to move metal like you are doing some fold forming and generally stretch the metal, then you can't beat these type of hammers. Like these sort of creasing hammers. This is a brand called Picard, and it's against like a cross pane, but it's a little bit. See if I can zoom in a little bit on this, you can just about see. Come on, camera, come on, there we go. So on this one here, you've got this sort of end here, and on the opposite end, it's a little bit on the bigger side. So this is what I would use if I was doing some fold forming. This is ideal for forging. If you want to move the metal, you can get another hammer that's a little bit bigger like this one. And again, the same principle as you've got these nice rounded faces on the end. So these are going to move the metal in a particular direction. So that first one is the sort of the hammer that I would use if I was doing some fold forming. You didn't say what sort of forming you wanted to do, but something like that hammer there, a creasing hammer, I think they're called creasing hammers, would be ideal. Or you could actually modify a real cheap cross pane hammer, similar to this goldsmithing hammer, and you can always alter this end here. Because the cheaper hammers you can buy are really sort of like £1, $2, $3, something like that, and you can alter the end on the end there. Oh dear. I'm going to have a sweet in a minute. Louise, may we have a next question, please?
Okay. Paul is asking for ideas any ideas where you can get an idea of pricing your work, which comes up a lot, doesn't it?
It does. This is have a ring.
Thank you.
This is a topic that is always so popular in the Facebook groups. And there is no magic formula. And this is the thing. And everyone, unfortunately, thinks that there is a magic formula. You come along and you go, you just times that by 3 and that's your answer. Some people do that. It all depends, because everybody is different. Everybody wants to make more money. Everyone wants to make a bit less money. Everyone's overheads are different. And so if you took what we've got here in the workshop downstairs, as opposed to perhaps if I was making jewellery in my garden shed, my overheads for me downstairs in the shop are going to be greater than somebody working from home or working from a small little workshop. So all this has to be taken into consideration. Your wage expectation may be greater. Perhaps you've got big cars, you have flash holidays, so your take-ins are going to be more than somebody who has a bicycle, for argument's sake, and who doesn't take holidays and so forth. So there's lots of things to think about. It's going to be so much of a time-consuming effort to go through everything that you're going to need. But what you have to do, sit down. You have to work out exactly what your costings are, what your overheads are, things that don't change, like your rent or your rates, perhaps your electric bill, your gas bill, your stationery, perhaps you've got a website, perhaps you do social media and you've got to pay for whatever. Everything that goes out is going to be your outgoings. You have overheads that are things like rent and rates and council tax that pretty much doesn't change. Your outgoings will pretty much stay the same. Your phone bill, your stationery, then you've got other capital expenditures, things like tools, and you must buy tools. It's bless you, Louise, but it has to be done. You have to buy tools. It's the law. And I'll come to something a little bit later. So stay watching. If you want some sort of discount code coming up for Black Friday. For Black Friday early, so you can have the discount code today to use tomorrow before anybody else can. So stay tuned for that. You have to go into all your outgoings as well. You obviously need a wage that has to go down. And then this is the also thing, I'll be very, very quick, okay? So you've got all these, you must make a note of everything. But then what you must do is work out then, this is where a lot of people go wrong, is to work out how many hours you can be productive sat here, okay? So very quickly, 52 weeks, okay, in a year. That is written, right? You can't change that. So how many holidays are we supposed to have, Louise? 4 weeks?
We have none. Oh, sorry, we had 2 days.
Jen, what do normal people...
Normal people, the minimum in the UK is 20 days plus 8 days bank holidays, which can be 28 days, which can include your bank holiday, I think.
Okay, so we say 4 weeks for argument's sake. Yeah, 4 weeks holiday.
No, it's 4 weeks plus 8 days, isn't it? Because
that's
counting bank holidays, it's 4 weeks plus your bank holidays, yeah.
Ignore bank holidays, because they're the discretion.
Oh, you'd love that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. They're the discretion of the employer. All right. So you have 4 weeks holiday.
If you make your employees work bank holidays, you have to give them the 8 days elsewhere. I know my rights.
All right. Right. You have 4 weeks holiday for argument's sake in this equation. Okay. So that means you have 48 weeks. It's too many E's there. 48 weeks, okay. So that's what you've got, all right? So what you want to work, 8 hours a day. Yeah, no problem, 8 hours a day, easy. Okay, so you've got 8 hours a day, all right? You want an hour for lunch, so now you can only work 7 hours a day. You want to do things like social media, Facebook, you want to do your accounts, you want to work out, you got to pay bills, you got to send invoices out. So perhaps social media takes ages, doesn't it, Louise, now? You're finding this, aren't you? It's
just increasingly so. It's just become, some days I do nothing till about lunchtime by the time I catch up with emails, social media, and just basically web-based things. But I think it's important to factor that into your working day, because otherwise you're going to end up doing that in your own time, which is what we used to do. Yeah, and you just burn yourself out, because it is part of your job, it's part of what you do, and it's essential and integral to what you do. So
I think a few years ago it seemed like you do that
Just a bit of an extra.
Yeah, it's been extra on your own.
Add-on, cherry on the top.
And you'll do that of an evening. But with it being so integral in everybody's business, I think we should all make a stand to say, well, yeah, we actually have to incorporate that now into our daily life. So out of that 7 hours that we got left, okay, 2 hours is going to be paperwork, administration, social, okay? So you've got 5 hours left. So only 5 hours throughout the day now you are productive, okay, to make money on the bench. So that's 5 hours per day. Okay, you want to work 5 days a week. You don't want to burn yourself out like Louise and I have been doing over the last few weeks, like working 6-7 hours a day. 5 or 6 days a week. So 5 hours a day. So you've only got 25 productive hours, yeah, a week. Okay, you then times 25 by 48. Okay, I'll do it.
Do you want me to do it? Sorry. I'll do it.
So we've got let's have a look. Here we go. So 25 by 4, I'm sure there's answers on the chat ready. So you've got 1,200 hours that you are productive.
Well, but then wouldn't you count your administration, your administrative hours?
It doesn't cost you, you're not making anything on the bench.
But it's still costing you, it's not time that you want to work for nothing though, is it?
But you're not working for nothing.
That has to be absorbed in the cost of your...
Yeah, but you're not working for nothing.
Because but you are then if you're not being paid for your socials.
No, but you are.
Okay.
Because what you're doing, say for argument's sake, this is a good question. So say for argument's sake, you have to earn, how can I make this quite understandable? So say you have overheads.
And say, an overhead.
Yeah, so say you have to make in a day, say £100, okay? So say for argument's sake, in one day you have to make £100 to cover your wages, your expenses, your overheads, £100 a day, yeah? Right? £100 a day, can we all see that? So you're saying you have to include your social media into that time. So in theory then, that's 7 hours you're productive. Which you are.
Oh, you're not. But so you're not actually. I see what you mean.
So if you divide 7 into 100.
So it's not bringing in any income. That's what you mean.
It does bring income in,
but it's not a tangible income.
Not directly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So say you want to make something and you make a ring and it takes you a day. Yeah. It takes you 5 hours to make. Yeah. It has to bring in £100.
But I suppose the point is you don't want people to think that they just do all their admin in their evenings and their weekends, because that's when you're constantly working and you
and you can't do that.
You've got no life, and that's when you start to hate what you do, I think.
Yes, because the phone goes or the messages go and you reply to people in the night. No, put an autoresponder and just say, look, we will reply to you within the next 24 hours, because we do it. We've done it, haven't we? We come along, she wants to know if an item's in stock, and let me just double check. And by the time you spend half an hour, we were watching television, it's interrupted the evening, and your brain then is in work mode thinking, I have to remember to get that in stock, or I have to remember to do that in the morning. No, forget it, because you've got to do it during the day. So what I'm saying is...
And we get back to the customer and then they say, I didn't expect an answer straight away.
I just thought of it and I thought I'd put it out there for whenever you get on. And you think, why?
You've got to have your free time.
Yeah. So all this, so you have to work out how many productive hours you are sat at the bench making a piece. You have to work out all your overheads, and then you divide one into the other, and that then should get you how much you have to earn for every hour that you are productive. Does that make sense? And some people want massive. Some people, I know somebody who just simply started up in business. He was working for a shop, didn't want to work for the shop anymore because they put him under so much pressure, and thought, I'm going to do it myself. So he set up on his own and said, right, in the first year, I want to earn £35,000 to £40,000. First year, all right.
First year.
I went, no chance. You're doing, and I hope he's not on. But he's doing trade repairs. And how much have you got to do in trade repairs from going from zero to earn 30 to 40,000 in a year on doing trade repairs? He doesn't have any customers. So this is the thing, you cannot have your expectations too high. Yeah. So you can't have too high expectations. It is not possible. You have to start somewhere and build. You can't just suddenly come in and say, okay, so say you're taking 30,000, you got to take £500 a week. What if you don't take £500 a week and make £500 in the first week? So anyway, crack on.
You should be an inspirational business speaker. You could do...
Don't give me any more ideas, please, Louise. I don't want any more ideas. I'm busy enough as it is.
Let's have a jewellery-related questions.
Yes. Next question, please, Louise.
You're like one of those spinning tops. You just got to wind you up and then let you go, and off you go then, isn't it? Right. Amco, sorry. I want to electro pen plate the surface under granulation and other decoration. What can I use to cover up the parts I do not want to plate?
Nail varnish is a pretty good one, because nail varnish will dissolve in acetone or nail varnish remover. That's the best thing to do. If you had want to do nice even strips, you can get things like masking tape or did my just break them?
No, did it? On what?
On the sweets down there. No, it tastes quite metallic.
We'll sort it out later, don't worry.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so something like a stop. You can even use like a spirit-based pen, and you can put that onto the piece as well. And we've used things like overhead projection pens, but long there's something like a spirit-based pen as opposed to a water-based. You should be able to get away with using that, and then using a solvent then to get it off. But anything like that would be ideal. Nice and easy. Next question, please, Louise.
I've missed a question. It was a question about stone setting. I will come back to your question. Sorry, I'm jumping about a bit here because I've
forgotten your laptop.
I've forgotten my laptop because I thought it was it is Wednesday and I forgot that. Yeah. Anyway, it's not Monday. I'll come back to your question. Sorry, I can't remember when I saw it. How does one attach a bezel 1 centimetre to a thicker ring shank of 1.2 centimetre without a split in the shank?
How do you attach a bezel 1 centimetre to a thicker ring shank of 1.2 centimetre? 1.2 centimetre.
1.2 without a split in the shank.
I don't understand.
How does one attach a bezel 1 centimetre to a thicker ring shank of 1.2 centimetre?
So the bezel is 1 centimetre?
Is the shank like that?
Does it mean 12 millimetre? Not quite sure, but then without it splitting, so you don't want to split the shank to do that. I don't understand. Sorry,
Can we have a little bit more detail?
Mariana, yeah, Mariana, is it Mariana?
Mariana, sorry.
Yeah, if you just have a little bit more detail, and I'll certainly be able to help you. Louise will just look out for a bit more information. Sorry about that, I'm not quite sure. Just let me know, a bit more detail, millimetres, just give us a bit more information. Next question then, please, Louise.
It was Sandy, I'm so sorry, Sandy. What technique do you use to set a flat-bottomed, faceted gemstone?
Any way you want to do it. You got flat bottom, just faceted. Any way you like. You can bezel set it. You can have the bezel enclosed if you want to. You could have it on a ledge like that way. And that would be your bezel strip going around, so the stone sits upon the ledge, so then you've got daylight going through it. It's a complete bezel with nothing soldered on, but just relying upon the angle here. You could easily get a nice thick bezel like that, and then just, you could cut into it like that with a burr, and the stone then would fit in that little area if you wanted to bezel set it. If you want to make it a little bit more decorative, you could have the bezel, if you wanted to, round needle file into the bezel like that. So then you don't have, you almost have like claws as the part of the bezel to come round onto the stone. You could even set it faceted as well, with the claws like this. Here are your claws on here. So there are lots of ways, and again, you could simply have your little burr that takes out that shape, and then your stone could sit in there, and the other claw then would be here. I've taken that claw because you can't see, so that claw would be by there. So any technique, it would be fine for it. It just depends whether you can see through. If you do see through it, you don't want anything covering the back. If it's an opaque stone, you can't see through it, well then you can have an enclosed back. But you can treat it exactly the same as a faceted, with the bottom, with the culets and the, what's it called? Pavilion, top half, bottom half. I can't remember, brain's gone, I've had 2 days off. But any way would be fine, next question, please, Louise.
If you started now, would you still have a pendant motor over a micromotor? And why? You've already broken your tooth. Stop eating sweets.
I would definitely have a pendant motor or a flex shaft straight away, because it is far more versatile for me than a micromotor. A micromotor is brilliant, but I think it's a little bit too delicate for some jobs that you do. Something like a flex shaft, for me, it's going to be far more versatile, because you can put grinding stones in there. The handle comes off. This is the best thing about it. The handle comes off, and you can put on, Jacob's chuck. You can put on, what were these things called? Hammer hand pieces. That's that particular one. I must take that downstairs. It's really good. So there's lots of things that you can do. You can use a flex shaft, a pendant motor with your jump ringer. There are so many things that you can do, especially when you're starting off. You can grind with it, you can polish with it, you can drill with it. You can even put it into your benchmate system, and you can use it as a lathe to turn things like waxes and so forth. You can have it going this way. You can even use these to go into those like belt sanders that Fordham do. That'll go into the belt sander, and you can use it to drive the belt sander. So for me, it's a lot more versatile than a micromotor. So the answer is yes, pendant motor, flex shaft. They're far cheaper as well, but for me, much more versatile. So get a flex shaft, get a pendant motor over a micromotor. For me, that's what I would do. Next question, please, Louise.
Yeah, Mariana meant bezel should be on the top of the ring.
Okay.
Going back to the question about the.
Okay, so the head of the ring. So the width of the ring is 12. Is 12 millimeters. Yeah. Is that what Mariana means? So this is 12.
Bezel should be on the top.
Yeah. So that's the ring. Yeah. Think so.
1 centimetre to a thicker ring shank of 1.2. Yeah.
And the bezel then is only 10 millimetre. So we got 1 millimetre there. Is that what we mean? You think so? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just taper that little section there and there, just to taper that in? Is that what we think? What do you think? Yeah, just to taper it in.
That makes sense. And how would you do that?
File.
Yeah,
just simply file the edge from there to there and round to there. Just file that edge so it's a little bit thinner, almost like the opposite, because normally a tapered shank, if you look on the side, is like that. A normal tapered shank is like that, and then you then have your setting up here, but it's tapered towards
it's only a mill either side, so the eye wouldn't really see it anyway, would it?
No. Or just take a millimetre off the whole width of the shank. I think, I'm not quite sure. You could add a bit of decoration. So you've got this now here. Your bezel then goes upon the top, like that. Yep, and then you could put some beaded wire around the outside. And we were looking at some beaded wire today, weren't we? There's a beaded wire going all the way around. If you're good at granulation, those could all be individual beads, or you can get some actual beaded wire to cut that and make that shape going all the way around like that. And that would be really nice. And that would then take into account that little 1 millimetre edge on the side. And you could do that way. Or, go on.
If the bezel is flat on the bottom, how do you solder it to the ring shank, which is curved?
Okay, so I was thinking then you would shape the bottom of your you shape the bottom of the bezel to fit the ring shank. If it is completely flat like that, what I would do is, your best bet is just to file across like that. File it thinner. Then you've got a flat area that on top to solder on the bezel. You'd file it, or if you didn't want to file it, and you'd have, there's your shank there, and there's your bezel on the top of here. You've got that little bit of a gap, so you could come along again with this idea, with the little balls, and put the balls going around. Just try and disguise the gap. Or, so there's that there. Here is your ring shank. Coming around. So that's flat on the top like that. You could then put something like a ball by here. So on the side it would look something like that. You'd have the ball by here. There's a bit of decoration, there's a bit of a shoulder. You could set a stone into it. You could even have like a shoulder coming up onto the side of it that way, just to cover up the gap. So there's lots of ways you can do it. I quite like this idea with the beaded edge. So you'd cut the top of the shank flat like that, and then the bezel would go on top, and then you can put the beads around the outside, and that would cover up a lot of the flatness around the top. Does that all make sense?
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. Let me zoom in a bit closer. There we go. So there you go. So a bit of a squiggle, but I hope all that sort of makes some sense to you. Good,
yes.
cool, okay, excellent,
Yeah,
good. Okay, next question then, please.
Okay, so I forgot where I was. Okay, Lena is saying, when I put silver pieces in the ultrasonic, 35 Celsius, after polishing them, I got fog on some pieces of the silver. What's the reason behind this? How can I avoid it? I only have water and dish soap in the ultrasonic.
Like a fog? Like they go matte, don't they? Slightly sort of matte.
Dish soap. I'm sure. I don't know.
Dish soap.
Yeah.
So I would really try and get an ultrasonic solution, personally.
Would dish soap be like a residue?
It basically, there's like a fog. Because what sometimes happens, when sometimes the action of an ultrasonic is so good, it does sort of matte the surface. And I know if we have a gorgeous bit of silver that we've just polished and you put it in the ultrasonic and you leave it there, sometimes if you leave it, the ultrasonic waves will actually agitate the water against it, and where it agitates the water against the piece, it will mark it, even though it's just water, but it's the ultrasonic sound waves going through it. So what you've got to do is just put it into the solution, just move it up and down the solution, have it hotter than 35, I'd have it at least 45, 55 Celsius, move it up and down. And once all the polish is off, then take it out and rinse it under cold water straight away. I wouldn't leave it in one place, because it's the one place, and because if you have like your ultrasonic, okay, and in the bottom of the ultrasonic, sometimes you'll have twin transducers by there and there, or if you've got a smaller ultrasonic, you've got a little single transducer, and of course that is producing waves, okay? So these are all producing waves like that. So you dangle your piece in here, and it's been attacked by these waves, okay? And sometimes it is the waves that moves the water that actually, if you leave it in there too long.
Have you ever tested your ultrasonic for consistency? Do you know the foil test?
I've never done the foil test.
The foil test is something which is used in medical grade.
We just faded you to black. Don't want to do that, do we?
Medical grade ultrasonic tanks. And actually, can I use the whiteboard?
Yeah, of course you can.
Actually, I'll use your existing diagram.
Okay.
And all you do is you've got masking tape, which that's stuck down there, imagine that.
Yeah.
And the other way.
Okay.
And then you get your foil strips and you dangle them into the ultrasonic tank. I think it's 1 centimetres. So each little square is a centimetre apart.
Okay.
And you dangle your foil, just ordinary tin foil strips, and you run a cycle, and then take them all out and inspect them, and they should all be evenly pitted.
Okay.
If they're not, you've got like not hot spots, but but areas which are working effectively and areas which aren't.
Yeah.
So it's a really good way of testing.
There we go. Well done, very good. So that is a good way of being able to tell which part of the ultrasonic gets the most, then the best usage for if you dangle it.
It should be consistent throughout, shouldn't it? Really?
Pretty much, yeah.
But you might find that there's one area. It's just a good idea to keep an eye on it, I think, isn't it? Because if you've got one little corner which doesn't work so well or is working a bit too well, you can get an idea, because it does. You can get discrepancies in their efficiency in different areas.
Yes. So the dental ultrasonics different to the jewellery ultrasonics? Then do you think?
Imagine they'd be massively different. No.
Pretty much the same sort of thing. Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah.
So why would your ultrasonics have to have this test? I know to try and get the best usage of it and make sure it's working. But what do you put in it?
Like an enzymatic, probably the same sort of thing that you put in, disinfectant enzymatic solution.
Okay.
I think it's the same sort of stuff actually that we use here.
So then what would you use the ultrasonic for? Pre-cleaning before sterilisation. So you disinfect it, basically agitates, and you put your clean instruments in there to as a pre-clean. Okay, interesting. Okay, no problem. Yeah. Very good. So that could be the reason is that the ultrasonic waves are agitating the solution, which is actually marking the piece, or the pieces could be rubbing together. And because they're rubbing together, they're moving back and forth, and they will scratch and they will mat. But if you do what Louise says, put tape across and hang 1 centimetre strips of tin foil in across the whole ultrasonic, turn it on, you'll be able to see then that they should all be equally pitted. If they are pitted in one particular area, then they're not, but then that little area then is going to be perhaps the strongest, and you don't want to leave anything in that area for too long, perhaps, in case
you can inspect the foil, and if it's had a real battering, then or even
well, that'd be good for a film, wouldn't it? We'll do a film.
Do a test. It'd be interesting to see, wouldn't it?
We've got a couple of ultrasonics around the place, knocking around. We'll do that. We'll do a little experiment. We'll do a little bit of a video on this, perhaps. How about that? So, yes, that could be the reason why. But what I would do is, if you've got a nice piece or you've got nice shiny balls and you don't want... Thank you, Louise. If you've got nice shiny balls and don't want them matte, we'll just dangle you... Put them in a little... Put them in a bag. You know what I'm on about. Look, go away. Right, okay.
Do you want another question?
I'll have another question, please, Louise. Yes.
Okay.
Before I get myself into big, deep doo-doos.
Yes. Okay. How far did it get? Carol is asking, should all finished jewellery should be stamped? And where could I buy the correct stamping equipment? Okay,
so where are you from, Carol? And that would be the important thing, because where you are in the world depends then on what you're talking about regarding stamps. I think that I remember seeing not so long ago on one of the Facebook jewelry groups say that if you're in America and you stamp a piece with your name, it has to be trademarked. I don't know whether this is true, I don't know. But here in the UK, you can stamp your pieces with 925, meaning it's silver, if it's under 7.8 grams in weight. It does not legally have to be hallmarked. Over that weight, it has to be legally hallmarked with the assay office, and they have them in London, Birmingham, Sheffield and Edinburgh in this country, in the UK. But you can stamp anything. You can stamp your own maker's mark. We've got a small little dragon stamp that I've never used, that you can actually stamp, that you can stamp onto your piece to show it's perhaps made in Wales. It may have your initials, it may have, I don't know, a doggy paw print, and you can get these made at loads and loads of different places around the country. Just go onto the Facebook forums and put in, or even onto Google and put handmade stamps, jewellery punches, that sort of thing. If you're in the UK, there's a guy called John Black, Black Metal Arts, I think he's called. You can look him up on Facebook or on the internet. He makes little stamps. I know that he does that. But if you can stamp anything on anything, it's entirely up to you. But you mustn't pass something off as something that it isn't, so to speak. So in the UK, you can't put a 9-carat stamp on something that is only silver, because that's breaking the law and that's being illegal and a bit dishonest. So if you're in the US, I'm sure you have to put a maker's mark. You can stamp on what you say the piece is. And I think they've got to be randomly checked, I think, occasionally. So there's lots of different rules and regulations throughout the whole world, but here in the UK, has to be legally hallmarked if it's over 7.8 grams of silver or over 1 gram in gold or half a gram in platinum and palladium. Then if you send it off to the assay office, they have to then test it, and they can stamp it with their particular marks. They can stamp it with your initials that you registered with them, or you can stamp your own initials on that you've had registered with them as well. We've just had some stuff back from hallmarking today, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
We have. Next question then, please, Louise.
Okay, Isabel is asking, could you explain how fixing granulation on a convex same?
Okay.
Yeah. Would you fuse or solder the little balls?
You can fuse them. Fuse them is the best. That is the best way to do it. You can also solder. It depends on how good you are with your soldering and your skills with soldering. I know that you can fuse fine silver, and that would be the best way to go. Make some little balls, fine silver convex surface. You can use your spit to keep the balls in place and then heat them up until it comes to that nice cherry red, and that split second the metal just melts slightly, it fuses the balls onto it. That is the best way. If you're looking at gold, you can use gum, tragus, santh, I think, and a few other bits and pieces to do with copper, I'm not quite sure exactly. Or if you had your convex surface and you wanted to cheat and use some solder, which is what we did in our 12-hour, what we would do is make a little bit of a dimple like that with perhaps a little ball burr. Then you would fill that little dimple with a tiny little bit of solder, and then you'd get the ball then you put the ball into place. You'd use flux, perhaps a borax. The borax would hold that ball in place, and then as soon as you heat this up here, the solder will melt and the ball will just gently drop into place. That would be your best bet. If then you want to turn this around so it's this way and the ball is down here, and you want to put some balls on this side, perhaps make sure that this is supported. Make sure that perhaps you put this inside some thermo gel or some cool heat, just to keep all this nice and cool whilst you solder on that part by there. But by putting a little bit of solder in the little dimple that you've made, so you have your sheet, you make a little bit of a dimple like that, it's slightly that in shape. You then will put a little bit of borax in here, you get your little bit of a palladium of solder, you melt that with your torch, the solder melts into this area here, you put the ball on top, and when you heat up this area here, the ball then will just drop in because the solder melts. And that is the best way if you're pretty new at soldering. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Paul is asking, can you use any string for polishing string?
Like thrumming threads. It has to be pretty much like a cotton, I would have thought. You can't use anything with a nylon. Cotton will take up the little bits of polish, will absorb into the thread itself. You could even perhaps try and put a bit of methylated spirits upon the threads and then rub the polish up and down it, just to get the methylated spirits to melt the polish, so the threads would be impregnated then with the polish. But no, it has to be like a cotton or a natural fibre. It can't be polyester or nylon or anything like that. It has to be cotton. That was nice, quick and easy. Next question, please, Louise.
Best way to polish earring posts?
Let me think. So if they're soldered on, here's this, that, and the other. Here's your earring post here. So there's your earring post. You've soldered it onto the end, onto your earring, which is down here. So you want to polish the post. Your best bet is to use, I'll show you. What you want to do is get some of these. And I always rave about these, and everyone goes, oh, Andrew, where can you get them? These are white nylon brushes, okay? You put some rouge on them, or you can put some Tripoli on them, and they end up like this. This is the same brush, but this has been used. That one's brand new. anything like that is a nice soft bristle brush impregnated with your rouge or your Tripoli would be a good way of polishing, because these brushes will be able to get down into this little area here. If you try and polish it with a bench mounted polishing motor or something like this, which is a bit more of a hard felt mop like this, it's pretty hard, you're going to have a hard job trying to get that in to polish this back and the post here. But something like a nice little soft little brush, you'll be able to get along here to be able to polish it. And if you really wanted to try a different way, you can buy a little chuck like this that you could put the earring post in at this end here. You could tighten it up so you've got the end sticking out here, and from there then you can put it onto a nice soft woolen mop like this that would go in the flex shaft, and you could actually just gently polish the end of it to make sure it's all nice and shiny. That, I think, would be the best way to do it myself. But you do have to be careful that things don't get ripped out. That's why I'd always use the little nylon brushes that we've got, because these brushes are nice and soft and they will bend when they hit the metal here. Or put them in a barrel polisher. That would be another way of polishing it. Or you could burnish it. Just lie that. So here's your earring now here. Here's your post, and put it onto a steel block. So this is a steel block here. Then get your burnisher and just burnish up and down. Rub it up and down the ear wire. Turn it, burnish, turn it, burnish, turn it, burnish. And it'll harden the ear wire, and also if this is nice and shiny, it'll impart a nice shiny finish onto the ear wire. Next question there, please. You seem to be all set there with the next question. Sat there with your arm and hands folded.
Ready, yeah.
Wow.
Natalia would like to know where you get your side opening casting rings from, please.
Now this is a good question, because there was somebody selling them on eBay. The round ones, and there was also somebody selling rectangular ones. Now I asked the guy for some rectangular ones, he never sent them to me, but I know on eBay you can get the side holes in this country, and I'm sure, what was it called? Bob and Sally? Sally and Bob? They have an eBay store, but they've also got a website as well, and I think I'll have to find out. Louise, may I do a bit of work when I get home for Natalia, just to find out for these rings? Because I know that someone said to me the other day, I've been on eBay, on your link, and all they're selling is graphics. Yeah, they do graphics as well, but they were selling the rings for Delft clay casting. And if people are wondering what they are, they were the rings that look like this, that just came along, and there was a hole on them that looked like that. Yeah, and there's a little ring that went around, and they were really, really good. And you just pour the metal in this way instead of down the end, you get far better results. You can buy them in America. Chap by the name of Craig Dabbler, he sells them in America, but the shipping is too much into this country. And I know you can buy them in this country, but I think they're not cheap. They're about 30, 40 pounds for a pair. But I will certainly have a look tonight when I get home whilst Louise is making the tea. Next question, please, Louise.
Am I? Okay.
It's a trade-off, isn't it?
Yeah. Joe has got a two-part question. What should the length of an earring post be? Okay.
Can I answer that now?
Please be my guest.
11 mil. 11, normally, they're either 9, 11 or 13. I think the average length is about 11 millimetres. How
much do people's earlobes vary in thickness?
Oh, yeah, I think you'd be surprised. A lot of people come in with earrings that have been made say in India, and the posts are really thick.
So thick as in long?
No, thick, diameter.
Oh, right, okay.
So I would have thought people abroad have bigger holes than what we do.
This is the length, though.
Yes, it's 0.9 is usually the right diameter. But then it depends then upon the size of the scroll you've got, the butterfly, because that would always depend on it. But usually, if you have them run about 11 millimeter, and have them, and then if you want to just, you can put like a little double little groove on the end like that if you want to make sure. so they can move the butterfly a bit higher. But I think 11 mil, about right, usually.
I just squashed my arm as far as they'll go.
Next, part 2 of the question.
What's a good thickness for a bezel backing?
Anything you want. I think some people can do 0.5 millimeter, some people will say. I normally have about 0.6, 0.7, 0.8 of a millimeter. What's that in the US? I will tell you, I have my table. Hopefully I can say the right ones, because I left off the front digit last time, didn't I? And there was some confusion. 19 gauge, 20 gauge, 21 gauge. Something like that would be ideal. If you go too thick, it makes no difference and you waste money. You could have it too thin and perhaps it would be a little bit too flexible. But those sort of gauges, 19, 20 or 21 gauge, should be just right. Next question then, please, Louise.
Can I just address Charles? Sorry, Charles. Can you email... Oh, what's the best way? Yeah, sorry, I'll message Charles now.
Okay.
I forgot where I was. How far did we get?
Part 2 of the question.
Yep, that was part 2.
Love actually.
Here we go. Do you ever use a rock tumbler for cleaning up jewellery?
Usually the barrels are completely different to jewellery. So I think a barrel, I think there are veins inside a rock barrel. So the motion has to be more aggressive to actually get rid of the surfaces of the stones. But in jewellery, it just works on a burnishing action. So I think within jewellery, the barrels are plain and simple. In rock tumbling, the barrels are veins. There are veins inside. So no, you shouldn't use rock barrels for jewellery. You mustn't sort of cross-contaminate either in case there's grit left in a barrel that you've used for rocks, and that wouldn't be good for your jewellery unless you wanted a matte finish on your jewellery. But don't cross over, keep them separate and keep having barrels for different ones. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just having to leap about a bit because I've forgot my laptop. Did that one.
What is the best way to size stacking rings? Should all
that's what I was. Yeah, Victoria. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't have the stacking rings all the same size, because sometimes you may want to just take off a couple of rings and just wear both of them. And if you have the rings, I think if you have the rings all different sizes, it'd make life a lot difficult because some rings will be too big, some rings will be too small. So I think have all the stacking rings the same size. If that's what it means if she wears them.
Best to size, should they all be one size or slight variations?
I think if you have stacking rings, I make them all the same size. If they're for one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be the benefits of
having them different sizes? I know when you say about if you have a wide ring, the rings have got to be bigger. I understand that. But when it comes to stacking rings, I think you'd be fine with that because each individual ring is quite small, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I would have them all the same size.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Next question.
Okay. Dace is asking, what is the best way to clean pieces after casting?
My goodness me. So we have got several ways of doing it. Thank you, Louise. Time's up. You have several pieces, several ways of casting. The best thing would be some ceramic chips, ceramic media, and wet barrel polish it. You can get the vibratory tumblers that you have ceramic chips in, that you have water going into it. It vibrates and wobbles back and forth, and it actually removes all the roughness from certain castings. Depending on your castings, if you've got beautiful, tiny little claws and very delicate filigree, you don't want to have anything that's going to be too aggressive when it comes to mass finishing. Were you on about mass finishing or just normal finishing, wasn't it? Just normal finishing. Yeah, it depends upon you, depends on your castings. A polishing motor would be just as good. Perhaps try and get something that you'd have some 3M wheels or some rubber wheels to try and get rid of some of the surface off it. But definitely, if you are doing some castings on a regular basis, like what the eco something, I can't remember the names now. I got them downstairs. I got a wet and a dry. A wet one just spins round and round with some walnut grains in there that impregnated with rouge. The other one goes round and there's water being pumped in and water coming out. And in that one, you've got ceramic chips, and that is slightly abrasive. So you can put the pieces into that overnight, come back in the next morning. All the surfaces has been slightly smoothed off now because of those ceramic chips. You put them then into the dry revolving with the walnut grains in it, or the boxwood, and that would polish up the pieces. That's what I would do. Do you mix tumbling shot, pins, beads, some info, pins, damages? I would, I'm answering the questions now, Louise says okay. So yeah, do you mix tumbling shot? It depends again on what pieces you've got within your barrel polisher. Some people don't like the pins because, as you say, they would dent. So other people prefer the ball shot or the little satellites. Satellites are like planets that are like, some of them are like that, aren't they? That's associated. This is round and this is like this. Some people use that. Some people have round shot. Some people have like tapered pins that are like that. It's just a matter of preference. If you've got some very, very small little areas that you have to get into, these are going to be better to get into than something like these. These are great if you have perhaps nice plain surfaces on the outside, nothing with any intricate insides. So those would be ideal. These would be ideal if you've got some very fine detail and some, if you say you're doing cluster settings, that sort of thing, because these are going to get in underneath the clusters and between the claws much better than what these would. So it depends really on what you're actually tumbling. Okay.
Yeah, Maradona's died.
Who?
Maradona, the footballer.
Oh wow. Gosh. Okay.
That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Only 60.
Really? Is that what he was?
Yeah.
Wow. Next question then, please, Louise.
Yeah. Hey Ali is asking, is gold easier to work rather than silver?
The best thing about gold is that you don't get fire scale. I think it's pretty much the same. The principle's the same, the equipment's the same, the gas is the same, the flux is the same, the borax is the same, it's all the same. You just need different solder, obviously, for the metal. It works exactly the same way. The gold work hardens, you anneal it then to make it nice and soft, and you don't get fire scale on it. And when you dunk nice 18 carat in your acid, it brings it up really, really nice. So there is no real difference at all. Next question, please.
Okay.
I think we'll have 2 more questions, shall we?
Okay.
I'll just prepare you. I have 2 more questions.
Okay. Nia's asking, is all sprue wax, carving wax, green wax, blue wax, etc. the same, or do they have different qualities?
They all have different qualities. Some are more brittle, some a little bit more forgiving. If you're doing a lot of intricate carving, you need to have a hard wax to keep that definition about it. If you are just gently molding something, a soft wax that perhaps would melt at a slightly lower temperature, you could use to mold it and shape it. So they all have their different properties. When it comes to things like sprue wax, I think it's just a basic type of wax that you would use then for spruing your masters within a mold. I know I've got green wax, I've got some red wax. You can even get something like sticky wax that you can use to fill holes, that sort of thing. But when it comes to like the cur wax, I would get like a blue and a green. I think the blue is more brittle than the green, I think. I can't remember which way around it is, but if I had it in front of me, I'll be able to tell you. So yeah, they all have their different properties. Some are intended for more delicate, as I said, some are a little bit more forgiving, some will squidge a bit, others won't. Should we have one more question, please, Louise?
Okay, Romy is saying, if I want to get a hammer hand piece for a Ford MSR, but want it to run slower, i.e. not with the foot pedal, but with the tabletop control, is it easy to switch between the two?
Yeah, because the foot pedal, I'll get my Fordham now. Okay, so that is dusty. That is the foot pedal, and you've got this part here, and you've got this part in here. So this part would go into the cable that comes from, it's actually attached to the bottom. This runs into the cable coming out of the flex shaft, the pendant motor, and then the power supply goes into here. So I guess the hand tabletop controller would be the equivalent of this, and you'd have 2 sockets, 1 socket, 1 plug. So again, the plug from the flex shaft would plug into one side, and then the power lead then would come out from the other side. But with these foredoms, you can run them really slowly. Personally, I don't necessarily see the need for a tabletop adjuster. It is more accurate, but you can still run those really, really slowly, and it's slow enough for the hammer action handpiece. And I was using the Fordham and the Bedico one on the 12-hour, and you can run them really slowly. You can get you can get it to go as slow as that. So for me, I would spend my money on something else and not a tabletop adjuster. But if that's what you want, yeah, crack on with it. That's it, Louise?
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you done?
Are we done? Is there one other question you had lined
There's
up?
lots more questions.
I know. I do apologise that we don't get through all the questions. What's happening with the sea urchin?
Yeah, that's not been forgotten about.
Yeah, we still actually have the pieces up by here for about 12-hour.
Yeah.
The shop at the moment has been so busy. I think everybody is just panicking slightly now with the threat of another lockdown coming, perhaps just after Christmas. So I must admit, the shop has been so busy over the last, gosh, well, it's been busy since we reopened back in June, isn't it? It hasn't stopped. So I do apologise that we don't get through all the questions. If you want your questions answered, you've really got to get in so early these days, haven't you? I'm not quite sure how many minutes we get into the live sort of question and answer before that's it, that we can't answer any more questions. And I do like to provide you with a good answer, as opposed to just saying, well, yeah, go here, go there, that'll do. I like to try and go into a lot of detail, perhaps too much detail, but I think you just want to get good value for money, I think. Okay, Louise, anything else?
Susan is asking...
Oh, it's another question, you mean?
I thought you wanted another question.
Go on, next question. Last question. Done that one.
Mix, tumbling shot.
Done that one.
Pins and beads.
Done
Some
that.
info. You didn't?
Done that one. I did that one.
Did you?
Yeah, while you were looking at Maradona. Maradona did. Yeah, I did that one.
Oh, okay. That's your then, isn't it? Okay.
Last one.
I would like to know what's the best way to solder gold fill or brass? Can't find anything online. Gold is so expensive, but would like a yellow metal.
I really don't know.
You know, I saw a lady wearing today.
Come on.
Saw her wearing, the magnetic bangles.
Yes.
Which I'm not particularly fond of the way they look. I know that they're medicinal, but I saw the lady from over the road, the bakery, and she came in and she had one on, and it was gorgeous, and it was brass and a silver metal, but it was, what was it?
Nickel silver.
No. And she bought it in France where they make the bells, she said.
Okay.
But I've never seen such bright brass in all my life.
Perhaps it's lacquered.
Oh, okay. It was twisted. It was just like a twisted torque, and it was really rustic. But the colour of the metals was just beautiful. You'd have to go and have a look. Ask her, she'll show you.
I'll go over and find out.
Yeah, it was really pretty. And she said since she's put it on, she hasn't had any trouble with her joints.
Really?
So I'm a bit sceptical about...
As in joints on the body, not your solder joints?
No, she doesn't do any soldering. She's a baker. But yeah, it was, she said she won't take it off now because...
In case something happens,
but she's...
Doesn't want to break the spell, so to speak.
She swears by it. In fact, she said it was bloody great.
That's what she did. Her words, not yours.
She swore by it.
So I really can't answer that one. I think you wouldn't necessarily use gold solder with brass, but people do use a silver solder when it comes to brass. But as you say, you wanted something gold. I really don't know. Brass solder from Rio Grande, Lorraine just said, and it's great. How about that? There's a gold-filled solder, super low temperature for gold-filled to brass. Thank you, Steve, for that.
Psychomatic effect, no evidence. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Bit of a placebo, maybe?
Something like
dog?
that.
That's something different, isn't it? Pavlov's dog.
Pavlov's dog?
Pavlov's dog,
I don't know about that. Did he have one?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that.
I'll tell you later.
Tell me later over a glass of wine. Glass of
placebo, yeah.
All right then, the psychosomatic effect. There's no evidence support, but that's the thing, isn't it? With these days, with lots of things that are happening, there is no necessary scientific reasoning behind things. If you get into,
it's positive attitude. If you think, right, I'm going to put this bangle on now.
It's like
Pavlov's dog marries whose cat?
Schrodinger's cat.
I'm going to have to look into that one. I don't know that one. I know Pavlov's dog. I don't know.
Schrodinger's cat. Yes, that's a famous one. And
Okay.
I'll tell you about the cat.
And I'll tell you about Pavlov's dog.
I think we'll do that, shall we? Yeah. But then again, it's like, okay, without going too deep, and I'll stop after this, it's like religion, isn't it? There is...
Oh, don't start. It'll be all night.
There is no scientific effect.
I'm going to think,
you prove to me.
This is going to make me better.
Okay,
and then you've got a positive...
Yes, you are.
No, that's why I was sorry.
No, go on. That's okay. No, I think I should. I don't want to get into trouble. Yes. But no, I agree with you, yes.
Positive attitude, and it's going to make me better, and copper bracelet didn't work.
I think my dad's 90, what's he now, 98?
98.
My dad's 98, and he's bought some weird and wacky books. Cyclomancy was a brilliant book. If you don't know what cyclomancy is, go and look it up. But he's bought other books, and he's bought loads of books, like self-help books, how to win friends and influence people. He's got no friends, my father. So he obviously hasn't read the book. He hasn't read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Then he got to the introduction, just stopped reading it. But he always used to tell me, and like when he was young, that he always used to look in the mirror, and then he used to say to himself in the mirror, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. No, he did.
That's Frank Spencer, you loon.
No, he did. It wasn't Frank Spencer. Or perhaps it was before Frank Spencer.
Maybe that's where Frank Spencer learned it.
Every day,
Americans might not know.
Better, I'm getting better and better. All right, on that note. Right. That's enough. Okay. That's enough chit chat.
I'll tell you about Pavlov's dog on the way home.
I'll tell you about Schrodinger's cat. Okay.
That is Frank Spencer. Thank you, William.
No, it was before Frank Spencer.
Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better.
If it worked for Frank Spencer, it works for me.
Frank Spencer impression. Oh, Betty.
Right, I'm going. We're going to talk about his dog and that cat over a glass of wine. I'm going to do a bit of work. I got to find out about Natalia's. What was I supposed to do with Natalia's what?
It was the Delft clay casting rings.
Casting rings.
And I'm sure the crap Frank Spencer impressions will continue as well.
They'll continue all night long. Depends on how much wine I consume. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. It's been a lovely, lovely afternoon. Thank you very much. So next week it's going to be on Monday. What's the date on Monday? Monday, the
the Black Friday code. Thank you, William, for reminding us.
I hadn't finished yet.
Okay.
the 30th,
it sounded like you were going to go.
The 30th of November will be our next question and answer. And for all those who managed to stay on, the code, Durston. Durston are offering 20% worldwide, site-wide. Friday it starts. But for you guys who are watching, you can put the coupon code ATB20. Not now, from tomorrow, which is the 26th of November. Okay, so when you want to buy something, unfortunately now with the spinner ring flare discount code's gone, the code that was used for our 12 hours gone, but you can still put ATB at the bench, ATB20 to get 20% off all Durston's products starting tomorrow. That is going live tonight. I don't know when, Chris didn't say, but it's tomorrow. You can get in there quick, because I know that when we did our 12-hour, they've only just recovered from the orders, because Chris said Leanne now is thankful that they managed to get rid of all the orders from our 12-hour. So we did extremely well, and thank you very much for that. It always goes to you. Nothing comes to us, it all goes to you, okay? So they're thankful for all the orders that you placed. And if you missed out on that code, you can get 20% off. Do it tomorrow, okay? Because you'll be more guaranteed to have your stuff in if you do it tomorrow rather than wait. There may be items that will be out of stock. And I know certain items are out of stock, and I know some people have been waiting a few weeks for their items, and it's like everything else, isn't it, these days? Everything's taking longer due to COVID, shortage of staff, and all that sort of thing. So please be patient, but get in there with ATB20 as soon as you possibly can. From tomorrow, try tonight perhaps, to get 20% off anything on Durston. And that's it. Anything you want to say, Louise?
I don't think so, no.
That's about it. The fastest being shipped from the East Coast. Yes. Super. Excellent. Thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you. We will join you on the 30th of November, which is the Monday, 4 p.m. next week for our next question and answer. And unfortunately, if I haven't answered your question, unfortunately, get in really early and put it into the chat, because after about 15 minutes, I think after 15 minutes of the questions, we just don't get through to them, do we? So I apologise if you have not had your questions answered.
Stephen, sorry, yeah. Did you sort out the small burnisher on at the bench?
Yes, they're all on.
Back in stock, are they?
They're all back in stock. Yes, they're all back in stock. And in fact, I've got about 8 or 9 orders to put together tomorrow because of we've been away for a few days. Yes, got your Durston flaring tool. Yeah, Mike,
fabulous.
good. I'm glad. I must admit, there's lots of reviews. I think somebody was criticising the postage of like being £7.
Yeah,
they are.
Well,
but the thing is,
not Jill. Sorry, I think Lorraine.
Yeah,
the shipping is a bit of a sticky wicket, I think, isn't it?
It is. But it's a reasonable weighty thing, and the problem is they ship by, I think it's FedEx or I think something like that. And the problem is there's a set charge, isn't there? If there's enough people to go back and forth to the post office, posting 1 or 2 little items, that sort of thing, perhaps they may be able to do it. But because it's a big company, they obviously have contracts with these people, DPD, and that's the minimum price for the size of the item. I think it comes in a box. Comes in a box like this, doesn't it? And when it goes in the bag, so perhaps they don't make any money on carriage. This is what DPD charge, unfortunately. I got 2 now.
So to show off, is there nobody likes to show off?
Perhaps I'll give one away.
Some of these guys are still waiting for this. I got 2.
Oh dear. So yeah, don't forget ATB20, use that, try tonight, do it in the morning, do it as soon as you can. If you want anything off Durston, crack on and go and buy. Don't leave it too late, you don't want to be disappointed. Thank you everybody who's still on. I do appreciate it. We will see you next week, 30th of November, for our next question and answer. Don't forget, anything you want to ask really early on. Perhaps come on at 3:30, start asking your questions, because I do apologise if we don't get through to you. People come on like 4:30 expecting their answers, and unfortunately we just can't get through to everybody. That's about it. I'm off now. Should we go?
Yeah.
Right, everyone, take care. Say goodbye, Louise.
Goodbye.
And we will see you all next week for our next question and answer. Take care. Anything I forgot? Have I forgotten anything?
You've given the code.
You've
done that.
I'll get in contact with Natalia about the rings, and we'll chat about Schrodinger's cat and Pavlov's dog, whatever his name is. Is that fine? Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone, take care. See you next week. Bye.